Music. Show. Test. Test. Alright. We have sights and sounds. Okay. Alright, before we get started, this game has a photosensitivity and epilepsy warning. Please do be aware of that if that is something that you need to be aware of. Hello! Oh, back to back. Oh god! No! Oh no, why do I do this to myself? I know why, but still. He's all cheeked up, y'all. Well, that's, I guess, what I decided to do. Hello and welcome. My name is Allie. I'm from Ok2BeFat because it is okay to be fat. Hello and welcome to your Yakuza and Like a Dragon stream. We stream all of the Yakuza and Like a Dragon games. This is Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Hello and welcome. It's Wednesday, baby. Hey, it's 14. 14. I left myself a surprise again. Is that not the essence of ADHD? Just being like, oh, I guess I've left myself a little surprise. Sometimes it's not a good surprise, and sometimes it is. Hooray. How are you doing? I hope well. I was listening to your I was listening to your set, and then I had to take a work call, so I didn't I didn't get to listen to the whole thing, but I was digging it. It had like mellow grooves in the part that I was listening to. I mean, considering that it was like an hour long and I was like 20 minutes in, I feel like it was still at the beginning, but it was fun. I bet people liked it a lot. Yeah, the surprise is I left Ichiban cheeked up. To anybody who hears this now or later and doesn't know, Forstein is a musician. They make music on modular synths, and you can find them on the EMS Earth Modular Society stream, which is also on Twitch, and you should subscribe. So, I gotta get him in a regular pants. This is too much. So what I thought I might... Yeah, we're gonna be cheeking out now. God. Bye. Oh, my word. The reason why I have named the stream the Nip Nops Paradox is that the Batman video has gotten out of hand. And I'm just like... I gotta go, like, take Han Jungi to the dungeons and catch him up on some levels. Oh, this is... Okay, let me go get a Kiwami drink before I, like... And I'm just gonna try to talk this out and have some kind of a ding-dang plan when I get to the end of this, because, like, I've got no plans, only vibes, and a bunch of Batman drawings and no explanation. And that's not gonna work. So, it's getting out of control. Like, I went, not only did I go back, cause I just was like, what if you just drew some, like, Batman and Robin related goofy stuff, and you could just have a little goof time, use up some of the 4 trillion googly eyes that Josh's brother gave me, and wouldn't that be great? And now I'm in I'm in a nips nops pickle. Because my intention originally was simply to point out that this happened and be like, lol, and then just, that's it. But then, it took me too long. It took me too long to, number one, drew all the drawings and also, like, finish the... it just took too long to get there, and then I was like, what am I going to do with these drawings? And then I tried to sit down and figure it out, and the thing that I couldn't, like, get around is, like, but why? Right? And, like, okay, fine. There's an easy answer to that, and the easy answer to that is a true answer, and that is, like, the 90s were incredibly homophobic. But why this? You know what I mean? We got back from some errands, got loose a new scratching post. She's not scratching it, but she's trying to get the toys out of the little track at the bottom. Oh. Because I'm just because, like, okay, that's fine, that's easy. I could just do that, and that would be easy. But then, of course, my dingus brain is like, okay, but, like... But why, though? You know? Like, but why? Why is that the thing? Why did that cause... Like... Why the nip-nops? You know? Like, what is it about the nip-nops? Like, what spell is being broken here? Like, what is happening here? And, like, you know, and then I'm like, okay, John Berger, great. He can just stay as that for now. Alright, everybody can just stay as what they are. Yeah, that's fine. I mean... This is fine. And so then, of course, I started thinking with my super squashy dingus brain, and now I'm like, oh god, now I have too many thoughts. Just way too many. And so I'm like, I'm going around like a... Okay, shark fin is good. I really could use... Fine, we'll just do it. I don't know, like, what to use, what direction to go in. I don't know if I'm even right. I think I'm right. But... I know that I'm right about the art history part of it. You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of confidence in my, you know... I wouldn't say I have 100% confidence that I could, like, accurately and describe and, like, give you times and, like, definitely can't give you dates. But I have pretty good confidence that, like, I can discuss most Western art movements with pretty good facility and not embarrass myself. Pretty sure I can, like, I mean, and there's an amount of, like, non-Western art that I'm also familiar with, but not as well, and not so much in how the periods flow together, but, like, not none. So, like, when it comes to talking about, like, Western art movements, I feel okay about that. But it's the part where, like, I read the Mulvey essay, and now I'm just like, do I have the, like, ability to even discuss this? I know, I'm in, like, way too deep. I mean, honestly, I think I'm kind of already just in a like thought process of just like just ignoring the Mulvey essay, except for like there's one bit of it that I like thought was like useful or like a good phrasing that like, I mean, it's not that it's like badly written, it's just that it's like written about like Freudian like ideas of psychoanalysis and like Freudian analysis, and like I don't know anything about that. I don't want to learn. To be honest, I'm not I don't know. I don't even feel like I know enough about like Freudian styles of analysis insofar as like it's used in like say literature and you know like literature analysis, like you know other kinds of analysis that aren't just about like people's brain meats. Like, I don't really know a lot about how people have used and maybe are still using that stuff. I know it's not in vogue, and it's certainly not in psychology. It's not really the thing anymore. I mean, I guess, you know, it's like, I just feel like Freud had a lot of really weird ideas, and was like coming up with like the concept of therapy as a thing, which is important, but then had a lot of weird ideas that did not have a lot of, didn't have a lot behind them except like vibes, and like his vibes were weird. I don't know, like the idea of like, I mean, I think it's less weird and stuff in the context of like situating him like within his own context in his own time. But like, buddy, we are not in that time no more, and I'm not sure if this really holds up, my guy. And I find the idea that, like, I guess I find that, like, Freudian mode of childhood development, questionable. And, definitely not something I want to talk about on Twitch or YouTube. If you know why I'm saying that. But I don't feel like I feel like I can actually skip dealing with the Mulvey essay because Ways of Seeing came out first. So I don't have to deal with it. So I'm probably not gonna. Although she did mention, and I thought this was interesting and possibly useful, like the idea of like inside the paradigm of the male gaze, that like men are landscape, right? Like men are not like to be like really looked at, like they're just like a tree, they're just there, so they don't like come under the same depictive scrutiny, and like And I think that kind of goes into the, like, you know, Nip-Nop's theory. It's like, have we been... Because, like, what the Nip-Nops do is they come in and they're like, wait a minute, have I been... Instead of looking at this heroic man who is, like, you know, functioning like a heroic portrait of being a hero, you know, which is, like, not anything that involves... You're just watching his adventures. There's not, like, a power dynamic involved. There's not, like, someone's being lowered and someone's being elevated. There's no not taking anything from Batman. But, like, then suddenly, not even real chest, the, like, sculpted, like facsimile of a naked man is, like, have we been looking at a naked Batman's this entire time? And it's like, well, no, but kind of yes, but not really, but kind of yes. It changes this man from, like, object of heroism and, like, you know, I don't know, esteem into an object being, like, ogled, you know, like a girl. And, yeah, that's, like, obviously we're dealing with, like, homophobia, but, like, isn't there more there? Like, the movie's got, it's just, like, butts and butts and butts and butts. Why, what is happening here? You know what I mean? Because I've seen that movie pretty recently, and like, all I had remembered was the Nip-Nops and the fact that the jokes are weird and bad. Which, like, both of those things are true. But just, like, why? Why is this the thing, you know? And then I thought about the John Berger mirror, and then I rewatched most of Ways of Seeing. I didn't watch the 4th episode. It's about advertising, and I had other stuff I had to do, and I didn't think it would, like, necessarily relate, so I didn't. Ooh, that's nice. I guess, like, I guess my argument would be that what we call this, like, male gaze is, like, not, because it's when you call it that, it's, like, framed as, like, kind of totalitizing over the entire population of manness, like, the whole gender. And then, like, it's also extremely hetero. And this is not a hetero situation. So, it doesn't quite track. And, like, the reason why I think it doesn't quite track is because the analysis that Berger gives is more complete. And I think that the analysis that he gives it does discuss Christianity and, like, what he says, and this does track with my my own, like, memories of studying art history, is that, like, prior to the Renaissance, and, like, Europe's Christian, okay? Like, prior to the Renaissance, it's also Christian. The Middle Ages, right? So, like, I don't have anything that'll break up. This is irritating. I don't think that, like, patriarchy by itself explains this, I guess, is where I'm kind of going. Because, like, we've had strong patriarchal pre-Christian and non-Christian, like, European pre-Christian and non-Christian in other parts of the world, like, patriarchal structures that don't operate in this way. Like, for example, the Greeks. Like, extremely patriarchal. Love to paint a naked man. I mean, like, women aren't exactly, like, absent or anything from, like, the Greek depictions that we have that did survive, but they're not, like, super focused on, if that makes sense. Like, it's really a lot of naked dudes. And, like, that was also a culture where women were extremely subjected, or subjectified, like they were, you know, they did not have rights. So it's not just the, like, social position and, like, it seems like because that's true, it can't just be the, like, kind of bog standard feminist analysis of, like, it's men, you know, bog standard hetero feminist analysis where it's just like men oppressing women and that caused this. Like, it's a part of it, but we have other cultures where that is, like, men are also significantly above women, and, like, it's not really like this. So, like, why? And, you know, I think it's Christianity. Because, like, you don't get a lot of naked people pictures in the Middle Ages. What you do get, it's all Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and the, like, you know, the sin of, like, the tree of the fruit of knowledge of good and evil. You know, tree sin. It's all tree sin. Because you got your, you know, don't touch the bad tree. But you did. You did. You touched it. So, and then, like, it's, like, legitimately, like, this, like, emphasis on shame in the Genesis story, where it's like, you know, not only did they, like, eat the fruit, but they also, like, hide from God in the garden because they're ashamed of being naked. And it certainly seems like, at least from what I know of classical Greek and Rome, that they didn't really roll that way. Oh, there we go. Oh. Alright, let's make sure we item people up. So, like, you know, you want to paint nudes, right? But why, you know, there's neoclassical stuff, they want to paint nudes, and, like, the Renaissance is, like, a real banging time for nudes. People loved it. I mean, also you have to kind of think about, like, just the technological development that is the invention of oil paints. See, do you see how this is getting out of hand? But it's true. Because, like, oil paintings can give this, like, beautiful glow and look to things that make, like, a nude's painting so much more, like, inviting.
Really pissing me off. Come on.
And, like,
let's go.
There's not a lot of nudes in actual churches. But I guess it's like, I don't know, people are getting money or, like, God, I can't get into that. If I get into that, like, it's never gonna end. It's never gonna end. Like, it's never gonna end! I just wanted to make some googly eye pictures. Here I fucking am. Oh, for God's sake, not this. The tattoo man. I can imagine a James Burke Connection style 45-minute show that starts and ends with the bat nipples. Please, God, no. Who's James Burke Connections? Like, Lord, please, no. I think I've just gotta, like, does this guy he's got a knife, alright. No? Fine. Nah, now he's blending. Connections is a documentary series hosted by this guy, and he starts with an object and then goes through the giant tangent through history that leads to this thing existing. There's a few seasons of it from the 70s. Oh, that sounds rad. I love that. No? Oh, he's weak to ice. Okay.
The bleeding won't stop. I can't see shit. The bleeding won't stop.
Luce is now enjoying the box the scratching post came in. I mean, that's always the way, isn't it? I guess I'm like, I really need to like limit myself. I need to limit myself to just the Christianity angle, or else I'm just like never gonna get through this.
I can't see shit. The bleeding won't stop.
Like it's just never gonna end. Alright, Setsu man. I mean, I might finish reading like at least the chapter that I'm on in that. Forsteen, do you remember that book that I took a picture of, and it's about Japanese fashion and clothing culture? It's more academic than I thought it was going to be, but that also rules, so I love it. Although I'm having to take it, you know, kind of slow, just because, like, I need to, like, I feel like I almost need to learn how to, like, relearn how to read, like, longer things. Yeah, the book rules. But the chapter that I'm in right now is about, Japanese men's fashion magazines. But I've been building up my stamina with movies and slowly building up being able to read again, but it's hard. Yeah, I would never have thought. But here we are. But the chapter that I'm on right now is about, Japanese men's fashion magazines. And I think it might be, like, actually really useful for this kind of argument. Because I guess the argument that I'm trying to make is, instead of calling it the male gaze, it should really be more the Christian morality gaze. Because that, like, just to widen it and make it more, like, expansive to account for the heteros getting upsetteros, essentially. Because, like, it's currently kind of, you know, it's like a cinema thing, it's a feminist thing, but, like, okay, but, like, what about gay men, though? Like, what about this, like, Batman and Robin case study situation with the Nip-Nops? Like, Joel Schumacher lost his career after that, basically. Why did that happen? And I think that the reason why is because of the, you know, overwhelming, like, social milieu of, like, of power dynamics that is inherent in Christian morality. And, because it's not just a male gaze, it's a straight male gaze. It's a cis, straight, hetero, man patriarchy gaze. I don't even think you can, like, I don't even think it's like I said, I don't even think it's necessarily about patriarchy specifically, because the reason why I think it, like, Japan and this magazine, or this article, or the piece that is talking about men's magazines might be a good, like, value add, is because, like, historically, Japan is a very patriarchal culture, and it's very hierarchical in ways that we don't always recognize in our own cultures. But it's had extremely limited influence by Christianity. And the way this article is amazing. Like the author went through it's not even it's a whole book, but this chapter of this book is amazing. The author went through like the three or four of the most like popular like fashion magazines for young Japanese men, and then kind of collated like how the models were posed, like where they were looking, what the articles were about, what the ads were for, and the conclusion that they came to was that, like, oh, that sucks, don't do that. Or basically, it seems like the proposal that they're making is that, I'm sorry to this author, I cannot remember your name or gender at this point. I'm totally fried. I have ADHD. It's not an insult. I apologize. If I see, because I'm like, now I gotta write shit down. I can't just wing this because it's like complicated. Because I can't like go into like a real YouTube video and be like, lol, I can't remember the author's name. Like, no, unacceptable. I can't cite properly. But basically the conclusion is that there is, in these magazines, more of an idea of, oh, well, let's just do this, of men, like men, young men, the men in these articles, the models that these are meant to, you know, represent, and they do a lot of like on-street photography of like just regular guys, with like, you know, cool outfits and stuff. That it's men also being looked at. I posted a link to the connection show in Discord. Yes! That's awesome. I love Cozy. Thank you. I'll definitely have to take a look at that. It sounds like the kind of thing that Josh would also find incredibly neat. So, I have to talk to him about it. I'll do what I want. Don't tell me what to do. There's like an idea of an idea that is not matched in the like lifestyle men's health, men's lifestyle magazines like in the United States, in, you know, in the West. There's a difference in how men perceive themselves as being looked at, and like what they should or should not like do about that, or like what their like responsibilities are, or no, that's not quite right. It's more like there is an understanding, or like the thesis is that there's an understanding that like not only are, if you are a young man, that young women might be looking at you in a way that you like might want to influence by how you dress, and, you know, your haircut and how you carry yourself, but that also there are like these spreads of like kind of lifestyle spreads. I saw this when I was looking at La Farfa, which is a plus size magazine. La Farfa is adorable, if you ever want to have just a rockin' good time on the internet, get on like Google Chrome, go to the Lafarfa website, and then just use the Google Translate to translate it. It's great. Hey, it's Pixie! But there were like, things in Lafarfa, it wasn't just like, 10 ways to get him to love you. It was like, or how to do a perfect cut crease. It was like, how to take 5 pieces of clothing and use them, throughout the week. How to coordinate outfits, but not like just day to night, but like, what should I wear to an important job meeting? What should I wear to an important lunch that I have to go to? It's my first day of an important class at school. What should I wear? And like, I thought that was really nice and cool. But it gives people kind of an idea of like, maybe what's like expected of them, or like, clothing and not just clothing wise, but like, for grooming, for manners and how you present yourself and stuff, that there is some of that in like women's beauty magazines in the West. Not quite the specificity of it, I think, outside of like maybe 16 magazine, and even them, I don't know what they're doing now or if they even still exist. Like, they would do some stuff like that, but like not so. That was for like 16 magazine is really read by people in middle school. Like in like Cosmo and stuff, it's all like, a lot of it's like weird sex tips and like, like fashion models and stuff, but like not real people on the streets. No. Hip. But that there was more of an idea in these Japanese fashion magazines of like an idea that was not like stigmatized or part of like some uneven power dynamic, that like people are looking at you as well and they are making assumptions, because when people don't know you, that's what they have to go off of. The more I feel like the more people like get to know people, the less that kind of stuff matters. I need a magazine that tells me what the non-binary professional things are. I still have a big wardrobe gap for the dressing up part. Oof. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, like I said, I've said this in the past, but like one of the things that I find like incredibly frustrating sometimes about like feminine clothing, is that like, and I guess more androgynous clothing even, is that unless you're wearing like men's wear as a man, someone who is read as a man, then like there's no way to wear something that is just definitionally neutral. Because like sometimes you just don't want to say anything. Sometimes you just want to be, sometimes the only thing you want to say with your clothing choices are like, I am here and I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like at job, Sometimes in school, you just want your clothes to say, yes, I am present, I am professional, and I am doing what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's not really a way to pick a feminine piece of clothing that doesn't say something. and you don't always want to say something. Yes, and dressing up is extreme. Like, it definitely, as you say, Forstein, it leans harder into the, like, most gender-y signifiers of clothing, if that makes sense. That's why it's so, like, difficult to like do androgyny androgyny professional or androgyny formal wear or what, you know, like, what does that even look like? I'm not sure. And it is difficult because there are ways. Ooh. Like, when you're trying to dress professional, what you're, you know, are like because, like, there's also places and reasons why you, like, would want to show that you have come in the spirit of the thing. Do you know what I mean? It's not always about personal expression. It's about, like, I am being respectful and appropriately dressed for this funeral and or wedding. Like, that's not a place where you want to make, like, a large personal statement usually. And so, like, in a way, there's, like, some, and like, that's not really up to you necessarily, because, like, how what you're wearing is perceived has to do with other people and, like, what their expectations are. Yeah, like, you want to be, you know, true to yourself, but also to exist within the proper, like, social spirit of the thing, to respect the reason that you have appeared at a function, you know? And it does make it hard for non-binary people. And the same reason why people, like, for a similar reason as to why people are like, why do you always have to go around telling people you're bisexual all the time? It's like, because you'll forget if I don't. Because if I don't, you'll forget. Because, like, you've been trained to think in a binary. And bisexuality messes up the binary, so we keep having to remind you of it. Twitch got rid of the Bible thump crying emoji. Oh. Yeah, I think I read that. The license expired. That's a shame. Do we have our own crying emote? I might have to get one in there if we don't. No, we don't right now. I think we just have, we have a trash panda. I don't remember what's, like, for what. No, it's not as good. Well, hopefully they can work something back out. If not, I'll try to get on that. I have tooked it on too many thingies, you know, surprising and shocking everyone, I'm sure. But, I meant to add the next channel points reward, and I just did not get to it. Those are the crying emojis you currently have access to. Wow, one of them's definitely got a Basabooba. Thank you, Pixie. Hydration check, I see you. Okay. I had sat up. And I am now doing a big stretch. Ugh. The other tough thing with non-binary formal or professional is that I do not bind and refuse to, so stuff doesn't fit right. It's a bit of a clothing void. Ooh, yeah, that's tough.
Hey, you! Let's get started.
Do you know what I think is the closest thing? And it's not even that close because it's still menswear. The closest thing to, like, non-binary professional wear I think that I've seen is like slacks with maybe some kind of like if you did like a charcoal gray slack with like a Mary Jane shoe and like a either a men's dress shirt or like a blouse with, like, if you did a blouse with like a Peter Pan collar and no, the collar wouldn't work with that. It's like a blouse or a men's dress shirt with like a vest, like a vest that matches the pants. I think that could work. But even then, like, we're talking, like, vests in that context is menswear. So, like, there's no, like, because of the way that, Christian moralizing patriarchy works, there's no, like, way to, like, put on something that's associated with the feminine and not just have it read as, like, girl lady who is a lady woman girl. Like, it shouldn't be that way, but, like, that is, and, you know, when you're dressing for expectations, that's what makes it hard. Because, like, when it's not about other people's expectations, I'll just wear a shirt that says, fat bitch, and some, like, you know, skull leggings, and just keep it rocking. But, you can't wear that to work. It's like you have to, like, mix and match, like, the formal wear pieces, but even then, there's a tradition of, like, women wearing menswear, so, like, it's still, like, menswear gets to be menswear, no matter what. I'll need some kind of loose top that will close over booba. That's why I was wondering if, like, blouse with no collar, like, without, like, if it didn't button up, and it was kind of loose, like, maybe you could, like, attach some, like, ties to the back so that, like, once you have it on, maybe you could, like, tie, like, part of the back at the bottom to, like, shape it a little bit more after it's on. Then you don't have to worry about the buttons. And then vest. That's the thought that I had. I don't know. I don't know if that works or not, though. That might just be ridiculousness. Because, like, even, you know, the line that I now refuse to cross is, I'm not gonna wear underwire bras anymore, and nobody can make me, and it's never gonna happen again, unless there's a very ding-dang good reason why. Because, like, it's never comfortable. I never get comfortable. I mean, I say that, but like, would I not wear an underwire bra to a wedding or a funeral? I probably would. Just because I don't want to get, I don't want to bring attention to myself, you know? And like, people have extremely strong opinions about, booba underwear. Like, bro, who asked? But yeah, I just can't do it. Like, I literally can't think about anything else. And like, ever since we kind of came out of having to gerb at a gerb, and instead gerbing from home, I'm like, there is no reason to wear underwire anymore, and I simply will not. Oh, look at this! Yeah, it sucks. I mean, it's like, you know, like, my whole thing with, like, the entire, what the heck? My entire kind of, like, thought process with fat activism, you know, when people are like, why is it always just women? And it's like, it's frequently not always just women. It is frequently an amount of people who are also fat and something else. Because, like, the more thingies you add to it, the harder it becomes to deal with. But, like, an amount of people that I have been friends with over the years with fat activism have eventually, you know, either started out as non-normatively gendered, normative to, you know, Western culture. Maybe that's not the best way to put it. Not binarily gendered. Or like gender queer or non-binary or, you know, agender. Like, it's because, like, fatness is it makes gender different and weird. Attack. There you go. I just want to have choices. You know, if people are like, oh, why don't you care about men? And I'm like, I mean, I do, number one. I do care about men. You're just assuming that. Like, so, stop. Like, and, like, number two, you know, like, the reason why this was started by women and people that are perceived as women and, like, is more strongly kind of adhered to by those people is because it affects them worse. That's why. Like, we're not looking to take choices away from you, man. We just want more choices. Unfortunately, the AFAB non-binary person I follow on TikTok who does outreaches. Okay. I think too much about this what not to wear I saw 20 years ago where they followed this one around and kept zooming in to show that she didn't have a bra on. Secondhand mortified for her. Ugh. I've been kind of out of it for a while, but, like, I mean, honestly, 14, if you want a button up, probably your best bet, and I'm sure you know this, and you don't need me to tell you, but, like, probably your best bet is to buy something and then adjust it so that it works. Like, go bigger if you can, and then adjust it down. so that it actually works for your shape. It's like my generic advice for anybody who is in plus or extended sizes and wants to try like different like fashion looks. Number one advice is see if you can find somebody on Instagram or wherever, that Tumblr, wherever you go, that is dresses that is like in plus and extended sizes, and if they dress a way that you would like to emulate, ask them where they got their clothes. That's the easiest thing to do. The other thing is for menswear especially, it's like there is a larger selection in the extended sizes. There's just more of a selection, and so like tailoring is not a bad idea. Like, you can still find tailors. I mean, I've had to take stuff that I got at to a tailor because of a lot of plus size clothing is like for some reason I said this and people were like, I wish I could find that because I'm plus size and tall and everything's too short for me. And I'm like, really? Because everything I buy is like a foot too long. Like 6. I bought this thing from this company and I took it to a tailor and I think she had to chop 9 inches off the bottom of it. Like, it was ridiculous. Just like so long, and it's like they extended it in every direction, and I'm like, oh god, that sucks. Much longer than it seems. You know, I don't wear straight size clothes, but I know people who do, and I've been shopping with people who do, and they're like, I don't know how I come across online. People have, I'm like, how tall do you think I am? And people have said, like, way taller than I actually am. Like, yo, I'm not that tall. But, like, I have a really short torso, and so sometimes things just don't hang right on me, and I need to, like, take them up. But, like, I'll just hit this man. Oh, no. Adachi's about to die. I shouldn't do that. I'm like, uh-oh. Somebody stopped paying attention, and it was me. Stop! So, like, there was one time where I, like, legitimately got, like, a, like, weeks-long just harassment campaign from a whole bunch of, like, extremely foolish men because I was excited that I had bought something from Universal Standard from their, like, Plus line, Oh, I mean, they don't have a plus line. Like, their whole line is, like, the whole range, which I love and appreciate. But, like, they have a petite line. And I was like, oh my god. The dresses will be the correct length. Hell yeah. And so I had bought a petite, like, petite plus size is not easy to find. I don't know why so many of us are shorties, but yet it remained. And I said, I put a picture of it on Twitter, and I was like, y'all, petite plus sizes, isn't that great? And these absolute yahoos were like, you can't be petite, you're fat. And it's like, hey, dingus, petite is a word in feminine fashion that has a specific meaning, and that specific meaning is short. It just means short. It doesn't mean tiny and delicate and wayfish and teeny weeny and collapsing into your fainting chair. Like, no, bitch, it just means short, okay? Sometimes people are short and also have a big butt. I don't know what to tell you. Weeks of shit. Like, the amount of dudes who were bothering me, who, like, were absolutely positive that, like, I, cis straight man, know more about feminine fashion terms than you do. And I'm like, no, you fucking don't. You probably barely even know your own pant size. What are you talking about? Like, we're having a conversation about fashion here. No one asked for your ignorant opinion. Like, ooh, this fat chick thinks she's petite. I'm like, for plus size fashion, 5'4" is petite. Okay? That's kind of normal height for a American woman. It's a normal height, but like, for plus size fashion, normal height is apparently 5'11". So finding something that wasn't that long was really nice. And here you are, shitting all over it like a fool who doesn't know anything about anything. You want to bet that those are the kind of men who only go near the women's clothing section to buy tacky, sexy undies in the wrong size for their girlfriend? Oh, please. Let's not presume they have girlfriends or buy things for them, because I wouldn't.
They cut me real bad.
These are the same guys who are, like, want to argue with you about, like, the absolute factual fact that the majority of American women wear plus size clothing. And they're like, no, they don't. And I'm just like, okay, first of all, there's no way that you can estimate by looking what size someone is. I know you absolutely cannot. Number two, here's a trillion articles from business magazines talking about this specifically. Eat shit, fuck off. Unbelievable. Absolutely believable. But I'm just like, I would never be that, like, oh, Miss Tifa, would you like to leave? I'm sorry, baby. Did you get stuck in here? Mama closed the door. Would you like to go? There you go, baby. Goodbye. I would never be that confident about menswear terms. I don't know as much about menswear. I know more than some people because I took the like history of fashions and furnishings. I thought that the fact that collars used to be detachable was like real neat. There's also stuff in that book about Japanese fashion about like there's a time period, it's around the turn of the century or the turn of the 20th century where like menswear in the West just gets boring as shit. Absolutely boring. Like, and that like having an interest in fashion is considered frivolous and girly. There's like a term for it. Like it's like I mean because before that we had dandies, man. We had plenty of like dandified fashion dandies, like men, you know, a lot of things that are now like this is just basics, things that are now associated like with like being only girl stuff originating as menswear, etc., etc. I'm just like, if you don't care about fashion, then just don't care about it. Don't like involve yourself in the discussion if you don't care. Just don't care. That's fine. You don't have to. I appreciate that the like menswear guy on Twitter, people asked him something about like or like why he doesn't like talk about like women's fashion, and he's like, I don't know anything about women's wear, so I don't talk about it. And I'm like, legit, like that's legit. Like if you don't know a whole lot about something, maybe don't offer a bunch of opinions about it that are like, unless I mean aesthetic opinions, like whatever, but like, you know, I don't know. I think sometimes it's just like it's the same guys who are like, these fat activists, all they do is complain about not being able to find clothes. Meh, meh, meh. Don't you have anything important to talk about? There's real activism going on. Like, first of all, like, clothes aren't a basic human necessity that everyone needs. You know, just clothes, you know. Just something silly that, like, every human being doesn't need, like clothing. You know, we're just complaining about clothing. It's not even just about clothing, but even if it was just about clothing, so fucking what? People need to wear clothes. Be like, oh, you're complaining that the clothing costs more because you're a bigger size? Well, don't you know that there's more fabric in it? And it's just like... And then when you're like, okay, well, a size 2 doesn't cost less than a size 10. I literally had guys be like, yes, it does. And I'm like, no, motherfucker! A straight size small and a straight size large do not cost. It doesn't cost more. It just doesn't. That's a decision. Like, do you think your giant box of cornflakes costs more than the small box of cornflakes because of the cost of the corn by weight? Because if you do, that's very foolish. That's not why. It's not the cost of base materials at all. Like, Jesus. And then they'll be like, like they've made some kind of great point that nobody's ever heard before. What a bunch of dinguses. I'm like, universal standard proves that size 00 can cost the same as size 30. If you decide that it does. It's just like, it's not a law of nature. People decided to do it this way. And like, clothing is part of the built environment. Because we make it. It's not a natural law. It's not a natural law that, like, airplane seats have to be so small. It's not a natural law. Anything that humans make, humans decide how to make it, and they can decide to change that if they want to. The end. Oh god, it's a weirdo. Oh, these guys. Oh, maybe I can farm some good experience with this. That would be good. Alright. I guess I don't really need to do this for Hajungi anymore. I'm gonna post a link to a TikTok with a historian talking about clothes in the Discord. Oh, rad, definitely. I think, like, let's just give everybody a Kiwami drink. There's a book that I'm thinking of, and I cannot remember the title of at the moment, but it's a book about, like, size and kind of wellness stuff, like, and dieting, like, historically. And one of the things that the author talks about is that, like, and this may be what you're going towards, Pixie, I don't know. But one of the things the author talks about is that, you know, the invention of ready-to-wear clothing as opposed that you buy off a rack, as opposed to, like, either home clothing made at home or clothing, you know, tailored, like made clothing made for a specific person, is that people, like, kind of almost immediately start, like, basically trying to assert that, like, the people should fit the clothes, not that the clothes should fit the people. Because, like, you can't get that, you just will never get the same kind of fit from a ready-to-wear piece of clothing that you will get from something that is bespoke made for your body. And that it was shockingly quick how fast people kind of went to, like, well, it's your fault that the clothes don't fit, you should do something about your body, not we should do something about the clothes. Hey, Will, a little bit clothing history time. I was talking about the Nip Nops, and then I got off track. As this is why the Nip Nops is taking forever to finish. Oh, thank you, Pixie. No, that's rad. I'll have to take a look at that. I mean, I am, like, very interested in the history of clothing. And, I don't know, buildings and furniture, I don't know, I just think, like, the human-built world is very neat. It's very neat. And it's extremely interesting. And I'm, like, interested in it to the point that, that I have, like,
Whose blood is all this? Together now!
Oh, I forgot what I was gonna say. It's just very fascinating. Oh, yeah, I remember now. I'm interested not just in the history of clothing, but like architecture and furniture, and just like the entire built world, is so fascinating. And like, I actually, this was not my, it was not my intention for this to happen, but, someone got really angry at me on Twitter. This was, I think a couple years ago at this point. But they got really mad at me for, like, basically saying that, I think that, like, brutalism as an architectural style is, like, not necessarily, like, evil. And that, like, it gets a lot of hate that it, like, genuinely kind of doesn't deserve. And that, like, even the buildings that didn't quite, like, I don't agree that brutalist buildings are ugly. And I don't think that's, like, a good place to start when, like, talking about them. And that, like, there's also, like, this entire, like, philosophy and political movement behind brutalist architecture that, like, was very genuine and, like, an attempt to democratize and kind of, like, do a socialism with, like, the built environments, like, to take some of these, like, ideas of, like, what utility is. Like, basically, it kind of, it's not the Bauhaus exactly, but it kind of descends from that. Oh yeah, brutalism is heckin' misunderstood. People are just like, you know, we've all agreed that these buildings are ugly, and I'm like, well, first of all, I didn't, because I don't agree.
Knew I had natural immunity. Whose blood is all this? Let's get it!
Oh, I was just about to get into that, Forstein. I'm gonna read your comment, though. Forstein says, a big issue with brutalism is neglect on the buildings that exist. That doesn't really help. A lot of them have bespoke furniture that's no longer there. A big one in Winnipeg was torn down a few years ago. It was in really bad shape. Yeah, people were trying to do, like, almost kind of a architectural socialism, and shockingly enough, the capitalists didn't really want to keep those buildings in good condition. It's like, the people, I mean, this is not exactly the same thing because, like, you know, some of the, like, architectural idealistic movements just, like, clearly didn't quite work out, but, like, some of these buildings are beautiful, and, like, I think there is something to be said for, like, thinking about, like, utility for people, like, what, and instead of focusing on, like, backwards looking, like, decorations that are meant to make something look like a brand new old Greek building, you know, like, there was a real hard push against neoclassicalism, and like, people fucking love neoclassicalism, but, like, the thing is it's like, we're not living in classical Greece. So maybe we need different things, and that's, like, an interesting thing to explore. But, like, I mean, in some of the buildings, like, the materials, they were trying to use, like, new methods of construction, and sometimes they just didn't quite work. But a lot of times it just wasn't kept up properly, because for the same reason that, like, people don't keep up public housing properly. you know, once the conservatives who didn't build the public housing get into control, because like, well, they're against that, so they're not going to keep it up. And then they're like, oh, look at these horrible places, I guess we'll just have to get rid of them. And it's like, it's horrible because you let it go to shit, man. That's why it's bad. Like, you didn't have to do that, but like, you don't like think that this should be a thing at all, so you know, you're willing to let it go down the shitter. Oh, I shouldn't have done that. Whatever. None for you. More none. There we go. Not to mention, a lot of really big buildings ended up as governmental or official buildings with the constraint that brought in terms of upkeep and budget. Naan is tasty, I agree. I mean, yeah, and also, like, a lot of times when you're going to a large government building for a reason, you might not be going there to have a very nice time. Do you know what I mean? Like, I loved my wedding. I loved my marriage. The process of getting a marriage license was kind of annoying at best. Do you know what I mean? Like, no one loves going to the DMV. People don't love having to go to court. And so, like, you've already got, like, negative emotions associated with it. And then, you know, it just spirals.
Is there a problem? You numbskull!
Alright, so, like, the putative plan of this was not to continue to keep talking about brutalism, although I definitely could. But, like, somebody on Twitter got really mad at me about it. About saying... Because I wasn't, like... I love brutalist buildings, and so therefore you also have to love them. Like, I just don't think that, like... I think they were made for a reason, and I don't think that, like, you have to agree with the... I just don't agree that they're ugly. I don't think that they are, and like... I don't know, sometimes buildings are ugly, and that's fine. Like... Like, there's more hatred for brutalist buildings than there are for the strip mall sprawl in the United States, and that's significantly uglier to me. Like, these are buildings that don't even, like, frequently don't even have any kind of, like, planned intentionality to them beyond, like, just, you know, let's jam as much commerce in here as we can in the cheapest way possible, and it's just ugly as hell.
Give it your best shot.
Like, I would 100% take a brutalist building crammed full of whatever's in 100 strip malls than I would over, like, one strip mall. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't, like, trying to attack this person. I think they blocked me over it. I wasn't even trying to attack them. I was just like... It's okay if you don't like it, but, like... It is not a universal truth that everyone thinks that brutalism sucks and is bad, because, like, no, that's not true. And, like... I don't know, I like an artistic movement that has, like... like, an interesting goal. And I think that the goal of brutalism was really good. Because the goal was to, like... make things for people, and it doesn't seem like that, but like it is, because like the materials were meant to be like, because they're using concrete, it's like easier to work with, so they're easier to make, and they're like, you know, certainly more than like some neoclassical thing. You know, they were meant to be like to put people on an even playing field. It didn't work out that way, but like that doesn't mean that like the attempts were bad or wrong. I mean, some brutalist buildings are just weird and bad, and some of them like started falling apart like immediately, but like that's true for any architectural style. That is not just a brutalism thing. Alright, so some of them do clever stuff with regard to heat and light management too. Yeah. Some of them extremely did not account for some of the cold and dampness properties of concrete. But some of them did. Alright, I'm gonna help him. Alright, so I was like, let me just sit down here and talk. The problem with the Nipnops paradox is that, like, the specter of art history and the history of clothing has now entered the chat, and like as may be obvious here, I find it a little difficult to restrain myself when it comes to talking about these things, because they're very interesting. Tag team. So I think, number one, I gotta limit the scope and not talk about every ding-dang thing I can think of, which is so many things. But I think I think what I need to do is finish reading the chapter of the book about Japanese fashion culture. Sit down and write out my thoughts as best as I can about, or make an outline or something. Like, winging it is just not gonna work here, because I'm gonna end up with 17 hours of, like, of jibber jabber and, like, none of the shit that I need, probably. What's this? Do it. Oh my god. So I'll finish reading that chapter. I think that the take that I'm gonna go with is that basically this is down to Christianity. like the historical influence of European Christianity on the Western visual arts. And even though the concept of the male gaze is something that is been mostly used in film, because that is like film and TV, like, you know, filmed media, film is a relatively new media. It's not video games new, but it's pretty new. So, like, we didn't, like, just learn how to start looking at things when, like, film was invented. We learned how to look at things and how to feel about the things that we look at from, like, the... Stop choking! The overall historical tradition of Western visual arts, which involves the Renaissance. Said this so many times, but it's basically like why are people so mad about non-representational paintings? Because, like, why are regular people put off by it? Like, why are conservatives mad about it? It's because of the legacy of the Renaissance. Because, like, the way that the Renaissance culturally taught everyone how to, like, look at representational visual art is so huge, and we've only been past that for a little over 100 years, and that is not even close to as long as it existed. And so if you're working in the visual arts, like, in a Western manner, then you are dealing with the Renaissance. Even if you do deliberately non-representational art that is, like, avant-garde, then you are reacting to the Renaissance by deciding to not follow those rules. There's no way to do visual arts without, like, somehow engaging with the Renaissance. Even if your engagement is, I choose not to engage with it, that's still engaging with it. Like, we all live in the house that the Renaissance built. Even if, like, we choose to move out of the house that the Renaissance built, like, the house is still there and it has to be dealt with because it's so large and influential. And the Renaissance is the time that gave us the feminine nude. For the most part. But because the Renaissance happened inside of European Christianity and, like, kind of at one of the heights of, like, the church's, like, overall power, to the totalizing power of, like, the European church at that point, that the visual traditions of Western visual arts are also intermeshed with Christian ideas and Christian values. And that's what gives us this idea of the male gaze. That's what gives us the idea that the looker has the power and the one looked at is demeaned. And that bringing in the book about Japanese fashion culture is to kind of demonstrate that it's not actually the patriarchy part that's doing this, because the fashion magazines that are studied in this chapter and talked about show a different relationship for these Japanese young men who are reading these magazines to the concept of being looked at than are in Western men's lifestyle magazines. And that makes it kind of a good case study for, like, testing whether or not it's Christianity, because, like, Japan is very patriarchal and very hierarchical, a lot of hierarchy, but the Christian influence is functionally zero. There's influence, like, from Western media, there's influence from, like, the American occupation after World War II. Like, there's, like, not none influence. It's not like it doesn't exist, but it is lesser and of a less, like, it's not been influential as long as Christianity has been influential in the West. And I think that, like, then I think that the need to separate oneself from the concept of being looked at is due to Christian guilt. It's because, like, the guilt of Adam and Eve, but also, like, finding themselves in their nakedness and feeling shame, but also the guilt of, like, Jesus said not to look. But, like, most people find that impossible and kind of against their, like, human nature. And so, like, what does one do when your religious figure tells you to do something that's impossible? You know, it splits. Like, you need an excuse. There's a splitting that happens there. And so, like, the guilt is displaced onto the person being looked at and is therefore removed from the looker. And that the reason why that's important for the bat nips is because it's like, it explains the reaction. Because if you say it's a male gaze, well, it's like, yeah, it's men looking at men. You know, what's wrong with that? And I'm like, nothing. But, like, why this reaction then? I always read it as you look and then complain, blame yourself for the reaction, not the one you looked at. Are you talking about the Jesus verse? I mean, yeah, I mean, granted, there's different translations too, and people put different emphasis on different things, so maybe I should look up the actual verse. That's not a bad idea. But, like, my understanding of it is, and the way, you know, is that if you look at, like, yeah, if you look at someone with, like, lust in your heart, you've already sinned. That's thought crime. Thanks, Jesus. Like, and that if you can't stop looking, like, pluck, like, it's basically like if your eyes cause you to sin, pluck them out. And, like, nobody can do that, man. Come on. Like, maybe some people can do it, but most people definitely can't. And so, like, what do people do when they can't measure up? Scapegoats, baby! But the, like, separation of, like, the innocent versus the guilty, this, like, separation into duality, Christianity loves the binary. Like, but the separation of that, like, you know, it does lead to, like, oh, you know, the very worst parts of that are things that you get in evangelical churches where, like, girls are blamed for boys ogling them, essentially. Yeah, binaries. I was gonna gear you up a different way. I'm just gonna do that. I should go up. Okay, so if you don't need a binary, because, like, if you don't need a binary, right? If there's no, if the sin is in the doing and not in the looking and the thinking, then there's no need to convict the looker, or there's no need to convict the person who's looked at. There's no need to, like, feel diminished because other people, like, look at you and find your appearance pleasing. There's no need to be diminished in, like, trying to present yourself in such a way that is pleasing to people that you wish to be pleasing to. That's just, you know, hey, that's just the thing that you can do. And it could just be neutral. But it's not. The reason why it's not is because of Christianity. 63 keys. Aquanaut. Hi, Jungi. Get that Aquanaut gear on. Oh, it's not even better. All attacks ignore resist. That actually is better. That's actually better. That's actually what you got. Let's go. And that by, like, expanding the concept, or by, like, thinking about the concept of what is kind of called the male gaze, which might as well just be called, like, the dominant gaze, like, this domination gaze. And if you expand it out and talk about it more in a context of, like, Christian morality, then, number one, it removes the gender aspect to it, which I think could be useful. But it leaves room for, like, a feminist interpretation, it basically just expands it without taking anything away, because historically Christianity also was about subjugating women. So, like, you know, there's no need to be like, and we must throw out our feminism interpretations. Nah, you can keep those. But like now we can include like other interpretations of like, you know, like the dominant gaze, this like dominant Christian gaze. You can talk about race, because the European Christian tradition is in history, okay? I'm not talking about today, but like during the time of the Renaissance, the time that all of these things are happening, like this is also the time of like the slave trade, and so like you get racism up in there too, and you can talk about homophobia. So I think it's just an expansion in understanding this in the terms that are more broad, to include like, why did everyone freak out about the Nip Nops? How did I get here? How did I let this happen to me? This was just supposed to be a fun drawing exercise, and here I fucking am. It's the conception of like, you know, if looking is bad, then like I can't be bad, so therefore you made me look at you. Yeah, I mean, I think like it's been taken in a feminist direction, because the person who did the like the legwork on the theory of it and stuff was like doing it from a feminist perspective, but like, you know, doesn't have to take anything away from that to like think about it in a different way, I guess. It becomes more explanatory, and also like patriarchy explains a lot of stuff, okay? It definitely does, but I don't think it necessarily explains this, because I think this is a Christian thing. And I think because we're like in the West, everything that we do, even when we try to get away from Christianity, like we're always fucking soaking in it because it's everywhere. Then like it's hard to see and hard to name sometimes. Like, for instance, ooh, no. All right, get him a Dutch. Nice. This is like the second damn thing where I'm like, oh, I'll just do this like quick and dirty and it'll just be easy, and now I'm like, I don't know if that's good enough. I don't know if it's good enough to do that. Like, I don't know if it's like, if it's a good enough idea, then it should get like the proper treatment, even if the proper treatment is like gonna make everything take longer, because I like it when things are done, but I feel like I have to, like, press against that sometimes because, like, my desire to be done with things is sometimes, like, overpowering my, like, but this should, like, it's better that it's done well, or done confidently at least. I don't know if well is something I can always, like, you know, promise, but, like, you know, at least confidently. I do my best to whatever skill level I'm at that point. Oh, don't slap me! Ooh, damn. Oh shit, he's not charmed anymore. Oh, this blows. Alright. Ichi, I'm sorry. This is very disconcerting with the Onomichi head on. Oh my god. Because, like, the other thing, and this kind of goes along with the thing too, where it's just like, I don't ever want anyone to think that I'm gonna only do one type of thing, because I'm gonna do whatever is the most interesting thing to me to do, or whatever I think is most needed to be duded at the time, because that's kind of how I roll. But, like, I'm also like, Batman's nip-nops are about Christianity, and oh yeah, I'm probably gonna make another video about Christianity. I do wonder if, like, other people are, like, legitimately scared. I don't know. Like, I wonder if people are scared to make videos, or talk about, or make content about, like, or just even cover as a reporter, like, evangelical Christianity, but, like, I don't know if they're scared to do it, or if they're just not culturally competent enough with the subject matter to do it. Like, evangelicals specifically, or like, what? I don't know. Or, like, or people are just soaking in the, like, default cultural Christianity of, like, the West so hard that they just, like, literally can't even see anything else. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. But I saw another video. I don't want to call people out because I don't, like, really believe it does a lot, honestly. I've tried to contact people and explain certain things to them, and then just had them flat ass ignore me, and then later leave little, like, tidbits indicating that they did get the email but just didn't. I do not want to deal with that shit anymore. People don't want to hear it. People who say they want to hear it frequently still don't, and they don't listen. And I don't want to involve myself in back and forth with a YouTuber. That seems like an incredible waste of my time. But I saw someone that I, you know, generally think is a very good commenter, who did the same thing as like 3 other people that I've seen. This person's not a leftist per se, but they are like they don't do political content, but they're clearly like, you know, a progressive person. And like, once again, we have the problem of like, you cannot just quote people from the evangelical. I just don't think that you can quote, or that you should quote, people from. I don't think that Russell Moore from Christianity Today should be quoted as an expert on why people are leaving the church, possibly, without people being like, buddy, I think you know why people are leaving the church. Because you were in the church. You were literally in charge of the Southern Baptist Convention's ethics committee during a period of time when they were covering up sex abuse by pastors. So I just don't think that he should get quoted by people as a disinterested source, or someone who has, I don't know, Christian pastor knowledge, whatever the fuck that is, about like some of these situations, without being like, hey, Russell, I think you do actually know why. I think you know exactly why people are leaving the church. Because it's the same reason you left the Southern Baptist Church. I mean, it's probably not. You know what? I don't know this man. I'm not going to speculate about why he did what he did. But, here's what I do know from facts, that are provable. That I know that, the Southern Baptist Church, upper leadership knew about this shit, because there's a report saying that they did. They admitted it. I know that he was in charge of the ethics committee while that was going on, and was, you know, according to himself, was, you know, attempting to, mitigate their complete and total lack of, like, wanting to do literally anything about this, by, I don't know, sending some sharpish emails, maybe. But here's what I do know: they didn't do zero fuck all about it until it was in the paper. That's what I know. I know nobody cared about this until it was exposed. Nobody did anything about it for years until it was in the paper. And that is the only time that they gave a single shit about it. And I know that he was in senior leadership in that church while that was going on. That's what I fucking know. And I think that everybody should know that. And I don't think that this man should get to just launder the reputation of of Christian evangelicals in the United States, because nobody paid attention to this report when it came out. And I did look on YouTube to see if anybody had covered this. Commentators, drama channels, leftist, anybody who's not like, here's a clip from ABC News, when it, like, literally when it came out. It was in the paper. It was on TV. Okay? Nobody's covered it. So people genuinely do not know about this. Because people are not getting their news from clips from ABC News. Not anymore. Like, drama channels, no. Commentary channels, no. Regular ex-evangelical channels, no. Like, I mean, all I could find was like CNN, ABC, like Fox affiliates, like, and that's it. Just news. Nothing, and then just like on that time, no follow-ups. They buried it and they got away with it. As per usual. And I just find that incredibly frustrating. Like, how you can be like a named person involved in a sex scandal this bad and still just get to be called Mr. Pastor Man and quoted by leftists and progressives like your opinion is worth something. Or like Christianity Today is like a I don't know, legitimate source. It's not. And I was gonna try to just like clip some stuff out from the stream and like do it that way, and I'm just like, that's not gonna cut it. And that fucking sucks. Because let me just explain to you how fucking little I want to do a video about the Southern Baptist Church sex abuse scandal. Like, do you know, I've been sitting here fucking waiting for someone to do something. For someone to cover this. Someone in any of the circles that I'm in. I have legitimately gone to people that I have some connections with and been like, please, can you cover this? And like, some people have reasons why they can't. Some people just didn't reply. But I have tried to not be the person to do this because I don't want to do this.
You better focus. What's with you?
I genuinely don't. I don't want to be the person. But I made that video about Harry Potter and oh, for fuck's sake. And it was like constructed in such a way that anybody who wanted that like information and who wanted to reference it could like legitimately just screen cap the parts of the video where I show all the evidence, and it's easy. And I'm like, maybe I could do a 14 or 15 minute long video and then just be like, I've got the report, here it is, all of this stuff. Bing, 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 bing. Bing, 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 bing. Here's the part where the Southern Baptist Convention voted no on kicking out convicted sex abusers out of the pastorship. They just did that. And no one knows about it. And it makes me feel like I'm losing my mind. And anytime people talk about the abuses of the evangelical church, or like even slightly, they're like, I mean, I'm not, you know, people have their religious beliefs and I'm not, well, the religious beliefs of Christian evangelicals are bad. Actually. They're actually bad. They're bad for society. They're bad for individual people. They're bad for the people who are oppressed by them. They're bad for the people in the church. Like, why are we pussyfooting around with these people? And I find it incredibly frustrating that I like come to this conclusion that I feel like I have to do this because it's been out there for like almost 2 years now and nothing has, it's just been gone down the memory hole. The church changed all the fucking links to the thing. Thank God I saved down a copy. Like, they buried it and it worked. And, like, it is incredibly fucking likely that even if I do this, like, it's just never gonna go anywhere and nobody will care. And, like, I have been in people's comment sections trying to explain this to them. I just can't get anywhere with this. And this might not go anywhere either, but it's, like, the best that I can do. But, like, for God's sake, it should not be up to the victims of the Southern Baptist Church to constantly be the ones to try to get people to pay attention to what the fuck's going on. And like, it's not even like I'm like, you should do something about this. I'm very aware that most people can't do anything about this, but for God's sakes, you could remember that it's happening. Do you know what I mean? And stop pretending like it's not. And I don't want to deal with this topic because the last time I dealt with this topic and I wrote like a 50 fucking tweet long thread about it that went very viral because I was the only fucking person covering it. Like, I had a just anxiety attack that lasted for a week. And like, Twitter is just not... YouTube videos are somewhat permanent, in a way, that Twitter is not. And so I'm like, and I gotta do all this shit all over again. And it probably won't even matter, is the thing that's sick about it. But it's the same impulse that led me to start making YouTube videos in the first place. Because I knew that it was gonna be bad. I knew that it was going to be bad. It had already been bad on Tumblr. It had already been bad on Twitter. I had no illusions that it wasn't going to be bad on YouTube as well. And it was. But the resources, the links, the quick information, the ways to debunk people's, like, regular stuff. Like, there was a blogosphere. And, like, the blog links, like, there was link rot, the blogs were going away, like, it just seemed like there was a need to collect this stuff in a more permanent way. And I guess this is the same impulse. Blonde Hanjungi is weird, it's true. It needs to be all pulled into something that's easy for other people to reference. Because I'm just like, why are you being like kid gloves with these people? Like, there's no need. Like, these are the Project 2025 people. These are the people going after trans kids. Like, you do not need to handle these people with white gloves. You don't. Why would you? They're not going to give you the same. Like, it doesn't make any sense. And I'm very tired of other kinds of Christians being like, well, they're not really Christians. Yes, they are. They are really Christians. Southern Baptists are really Christians. They are really Protestant Christians because they're really treated like they are. Because they get the same invisibility cloak that anyone who does something for Protestant Jesus gets. And people can't retain that this is what's going on, or they refuse to. And I am so tired of it. I'm like, do you know how much I don't want to do this? I'm sure you can hear in my voice how much I do not want to do this. It's the same thing. I'm going over time. I just need to finish this thought and put it to bed so I'm not, like, completely, like, hyped up and, like, ranting at Josh. But it's just, like, it's the same impulse also that led me to make that, like, Fake-topia video with, like, Connor Luke Simpson with his, like, fake fat activist video. And, like, 5 seconds within seeing that, I'm like, that's fake. That is a fake interview. That never happened. Nothing about this looks real. It took me almost 2 hours to explain why, but like, I've made enough videos and done enough theater to be able to tell instantly that this is fake as hell. And then I wait a year for someone else to say that. And no one ever does. I looked it up a little on YouTube, and there's very few vids that directly bring it up. A lot are about accusations, which gives an air of maybe, maybe not, fear of litigation, maybe. I don't know why they would need to be afraid of litigation, because the Southern Baptists literally put out a report themselves that says that they did this. Like, they said they did it. It's in the report. It was published. And then buried. But I've got the report, and I know what it says. And, like, I think the play is to put it all together, show it in screenshots, and just show it to people. And then be like, you know, anybody who there's a lot of different kinds of genre of YouTube videos that sure could dig into this a little bit more. Hey, here's where you can find a copy of this report yourself. There's so much more in it. If you wanted to make a video about it, I hope you do. If you want to screen capture parts of this video and use it in your video, please do go ahead. Credit me, that would be nice, but like, I just want more people to know about this. Like, people need to know about this, and they don't. And like, you don't even have to say it's alleged. Like, they put out a report. Like, they admitted to it in this report. I'm the only person that's read this report. And I didn't even read all of it because I had a panic attack about halfway in and had to stop. And that's the truth. But I don't know. There's not a good reason for it. And so that's why I'm like, maybe there's a way to get people to start talking about it if I'm like, I gotta come up with a really good title, but I mean, I know how to make these things. I've done it before. So I don't know if it'll work as well because people like know that Harry Potter videos do well, and so they're looking for content to make on that, and like, this is just not the same. But like, if you're making content about like trans rights and the people trying to take away trans rights, and why all this groomer business is fake and made up, it sure seems like having a report from the people who are doing all this stuff, showing that they're the ones who are covering up sexual abuse, would really bolster your case. Should you choose to to want to bolster your case. I don't get it. Do you know what I mean? Like, even people on, like, dedicated to the trans rights beat, I talked to one person about it, and she was like, I mentally cannot deal with this, which I get. But, like, she's not the only person who covers that. There's, like, a lot of people covering it, so, like, why aren't people covering this? And it's because they don't know about it. But, like, I don't know if even putting myself through this again is gonna be enough to get people to know about it. But, like, I genuinely don't know what else to do. Like, I have a copy of Final Cut Pro. That's all I have. Like, I'm not, like, connected. I'm not, like, the algorithm hates me. Like, I'm not doing a lot to help myself in that area. You know, like, I just don't know. I have some friendly connections with some people. Maybe I could ask for their help or opinions or something. I don't know. But, like, I don't know what else to do. But I feel like I should do something. Because, like, nobody else is doing anything, and somebody needs to. And at a certain point, you can't just keep saying somebody needs to do something, because sometimes the somebody who needs to do something is you. Just saying somebody needs to do something over and over again is not enough. Yeah, it's a bad spot because, like, I don't know. I know how to approach it, but I don't know how to approach actually getting people to watch it. And it, like, some things are sticky and will get views no matter what. Like, I knew that thing with, Space Dandy wasn't gonna do as good because it's just not a hot topic. But, like, I wanted to do it, so I did it anyway. But, like, I don't know that this kind of thing is something that people... I don't know if it's something people even care about. Yeah, I saw the videos from the news sources. Like, that's not gonna cut it, because, like, the people driving the conversation about these things are not, like, that's not where they're getting news from. So it needs to be, like, framed like it's commentary, or it just doesn't work. But, like, this is what we mean when we say convicted in your heart. You know what I mean? Like, people are like, what does it mean to be convicted in your heart? And I'm like, I genuinely don't know how to put that I don't think there's a good translation of it outside of, like, churchy talk or, like, southerner churchy talk, but it's just like, this is what it means to be convicted in your heart, because, like, I don't want to do this. I think it's gonna suck to do. I think it's gonna probably hurt my mental health, at least in the short term. I think there's an active chance that nobody will care, and that that's gonna be upsetting, and that it won't go anywhere, and I'm gonna be upset and frustrated, but, like, I'm probably still gonna do it. Because I feel convicted in my heart that somebody has to. Somebody has to. And I've been waiting for somebody else and they have not shown up. Because I don't think it should have to be me. Because, like, haven't I been through enough? But it's looking like it's not gonna be anybody else. Like, I have really been behind the scenes trying to do what little I can to, like, ask people to, like, do this or whatever, but it's not happening for a bunch of different reasons, and so, like, it's just me again. Shouldn't have to be me. But I think it's gonna have to be me. I don't know. Maybe I should ask around to see if somebody wants to collaborate. But I have tried to do that, and it hasn't worked. So, and I always feel bad about collaborating anyway, because, like, I'm so unable to be on a deadline, but I don't know what else to do. If you figure out something better I can do, please tell me. Not now, I'm way over, I've gotta go, but, like, in the Discord, like, do please let me know if you have a better plan to try to succinct this so that people can actually see it in a way that they can remember it and stop quoting these people like they never did anything wrong. What the hell is all this? Jesus. Well, what a thing to end on. It's like bots and bots and bots. But, yeah. I don't know. It just occurred to me the other day, like, no one's gonna do it. great. But, yeah. So, hooray. I'm not afraid to say stuff about Christianity. I'm not afraid to say stuff about evangelical Christians that's true. And no one else should be either. I just don't want to, because it's going to be mentally very bad. Which is why, like, someone else should be responsible for this, but it's never anyone else. It's always it's always the church's victims that end up having to do this stuff. And it's just sick and upsetting. Because, like, this was so public. You need a food, a big hug, and a rest. Yeah. Beans. Nuts and beans, y'all. Nuts and beans. I mean, nobody else is doing anything about it, and it's been, like, 2 fucking years, so it's not like there's some kind of enormous rush. But, that's it. I'm not doing the outro. I'm incredibly over. I'm going to go now. Thank y'all for hanging out with me and listening to me try to figure out what to do with my main YouTube channel. I appreciate the feedback and just the talking and the company. Thank you. And I'm gonna go now. My name is Allie. I'm from Ok2BeFat because it is okay to be fat. This has been Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. I will see you on Friday if you can make it. I will not be talking about this on Friday at all. At all. But if you can't make it Friday, I'll see you when you can. Alright, I gotta go. Bye!